Continue the conversation, talk more about fake news and how you need to steer clear of certain things at Facebook and Twitter and how those social media platforms are deciding what to present. That is our next discussion on the special report. All right, well, in our next discussion, news that you can use. That's one of the guiding principles that journalists use to decide the value of a story. Well, the goal is simple, to give you, the viewer, the information that you need to get through and start your day. Let's face it, we need the news that you can use, news that gives you a perspective, gives the person the data points that they need to make an informed decision. But of course, you need the right news, of course. It's not just any old news. With the social media at everyone's fingertips right now on their smartphone, how do you know the information you're actually consuming is accurate? The accuracy, the credibility, all of this has now been called into question with the term fake news. Companies who have the power to influence your thinking and are increasingly becoming more conscious of what information to present. Well, all of that takes time and responsibility. So we're going to sort of break this up into two parts. First of all, Twitter. We all tweet 140 characters, or hopefully most of us do, but how accurate are those 140 characters that we see on our streams? Well, the social media platform Twitter is now even going to be offering the streaming of news in a partnership with Bloomberg. The new service will launch later on this year, and of course, yes, there will be live reporting. Let's take a look at this report first. Twitter may not be as popular as Facebook, but that doesn't stop the company from innovating and introducing new elements, be it making people realize their power of hashtags or becoming a one-stop source for breaking news. Well, the latest to soon make its way to Twitter is a 24-hour streaming news channel in partnership with Bloomberg Media. This new streaming channel will be launched later this year and will include user-generated content from Twitter, which will be verified by Bloomberg editors, along with live video reporting from journalists at the news organization. As the company says, the new network will focus on the most important news for an intelligent audience around the world and will be broader in focus than their existing network. While a 24-hour Bloomberg News network is just one part of Twitter's big plan, the company is actually expanding its live broadcasting portfolio with 12 new offerings that include U.S. women's basketball games, a BuzzFeed news program, and a show about gadgets from the popular tech news website, The Purge. The WNBA Women's Basketball League will live stream a regular season game weekly on Twitter from this month and continue through the 2017, 2018, and 2019 seasons. BuzzFeed will also broadcast a morning show on Twitter for an audience that wakes up hungry for trending tweets, and video news startup Cheddar will stream an opening bell show each morning from the New York Stock Exchange. And for all you music lovers, music promoter Live Nation Entertainment will stream some concerts from this month on Twitter, and the first will be a show by Grammy-winning country performers Zac Brown Band. It'll air May 13th. Well, there's no doubt that Twitter has been seeking to broaden its appeal beyond its core user base of celebrities, politicians, and journalists. And it looks like it's time for the company to grow in a way it has been planning for years. With this new announcement and live broadcasting expansion, there's now hope that Twitter could expand its user base, which has been growing at a slower pace than its social media rivals. Bureau Report, WION. All right, to get perspective on this story, let's introduce our guests for this discussion. First of all, we have Ankit Tuteja, tech correspondent, joining us right here in New Delhi. We're also joined by Glenn Carl, a former intelligence officer in the United States from Massachusetts, as well as Kamar Chima, a professor from Islamabad, to get us perspective on this story. Firstly, let me go to Ankit on the story. Ankit, you're a tech guy. There's so much information out there. We know about Twitter and Bloomberg. Seems like it's certainly exciting, but again, how are these platforms going to make sure what they put out and what they sort of aggregate is accurate? It's a huge challenge for our social media companies.
You had just pointed out correctly, but you have to look at it this way. Twitter, I mean, how many of us are actually on Twitter. You are on Twitter, I'm on Twitter, we all tweet. Maybe my friends in the media fraternity, they are on Twitter. But what about people who are not from the industry? They know about it perhaps, but they are not active on Twitter as much as you and I are on Twitter. For them, so just what I'm trying to say is the user base of Twitter in India, and for that matter, any internet-friendly country, is not as big as Facebook, or for that matter, Instagram. Talking about that, every company has to succeed, every company strives to be more successful, and that's what Twitter has been trying to do. It has experimented with different stuff in the past. They tried to integrate e-commerce into tweets, but it didn't work.
Right.
But now, this is the experiment that the company has taken, and it's not taking it alone. In fact, the company has tied up or partnered with media houses, big media houses for that matter, Bloomberg, BuzzFeed, The Verge, one of the most popular tech websites.
Right.
So it's one of the experiments that Twitter is doing, but it looks that it's going to put Twitter at an advantage after a point.
Compared to at least Facebook
Absolutely,
and Instagram for the time being. Let me now bring in Kamar Chima as well on this discussion. Kamar, let's talk to you about this. You know, as Ankit just pointed out, not everybody is on Twitter. So, you know, you have sort of an age, sort of a window of the users typically are on different platforms. You have Facebook, you have Twitter, you have Instagram, Snapchat for the teens and the younger segment of the population. But let's go back to Twitter. Twitter and Bloomberg now saying that there's going to be this live streaming of web content and partnering up with BuzzFeed and other agencies. But again, the question is how accurate. How do they vet that and make sure what they see on Twitter is in fact reportable, sort of goes away from old school journalism ethics? Kamar?
Yes, I think now the international, the world is going through a digital world, and we have seen that now the international community or the media houses do not have a control on information. And now the mainstream media is dragged by the social media. So what are the trends, top trends on Twitter or on the Facebook? Those are the talking points of international media. So I think this is what we have to see that. And, you know, social media has been at every home. The digital space is being everywhere. Facebook has come up with Facebook Live. Twitter has come up with the Periscope. So I think there's a new revolution that has come. And I think with this new revolution, with every hand, you have one mobile, two mobiles, and you are using social media. And then there are companies, and then there are political parties, and then there are governments who are initiating Twitter trends on Twitter and on Facebook. So I think it's very tough to control the information that comes on Twitter or any other social media, you know, search engine. And
real quickly, let me go to Glenn Carl with regards to tweet, the world of 140 characters. I mean, even the word tweets didn't exist several years ago. Now we're going to get a live streaming from Twitter. Certainly Twitter upping their game, partnering up with Bloomberg. How do you think this is going to roll out, especially in this day and age that we have to deal with fake news, as many people are now calling it? Glenn?
Well, yeah, fundamentally, the internet, Facebook, tweets, and so on are grounded or inhabit a somewhat anarchist and libertarian perspective, which is that regulation is bad and regulation is totalitarian. However, de Tocqueville 175 years ago spoke about the dilemma of when every truth is equal, every individual is equal to find his own truth, then truth is nothing. The solution has been, in democracy, in public media, frankly, a regulated system that is free for competition, but does have some standards of comportment. That has been the editorial boards of something as right-wing as the Wall Street Journal or as left-wing as The Nation magazine, say, which then nonetheless accept that there are facts that are the basis for commentary and opinion. Until that is established, as Mark Zuckerberg is now coming to acknowledge is relevant for his universe, too, of Facebook and the internet media, what we will have is no longer the boardroom of stuffy people looking like me dictating what the truth is, which is resented, understandably, but a bar of ignorant drunks who decide that what they feel is the truth. That's not acceptable either.
Right.
So
and
you
how,
have to.
And how crucial they're going to have to be to vet out information like that before it actually gets out, because all it takes is one little bit of information, or misinformation rather, that can go viral and could have a lasting implication. So we're going to continue this conversation. Now I'm going to bring in also Facebook. Well, Facebook also facing the same challenge. Been striving to weed out those fake stories and any kind of offensive content from its site. Now it appears some of those efforts are not necessarily paying off. Here's why.
We all know that right after being slammed for allowing the spread of false reports during the US elections, Facebook introduced safety features, including enabling users to flag fake articles on news feeds. With support from other new organizations, Facebook also came up with some fact-checking tools recently to root out fake news stories in France ahead of the country's presidential election. It is said that Facebook removed 30,000 accounts in France that were sharing fake news. But Facebook is yet to hit upon a clear solution to the problem of fake news. Leaving aside users, there's growing concern among Facebook shareholders that fake news affects the company's market credibility. Facebook admits it has become a battleground for governments seeking to manipulate public opinion. So it's working on ways to ensure governments and non-state entities are not able to misuse the platform. These efforts are over and above tackling the fake news phenomenon. Facebook says the current lot of problems are more complex than the challenge posed by traditional hackers and scammers. The company is now working on deleting false accounts after identifying them using a combination of machine learning and intelligence agency level analysis. How successful Facebook will be is not clear. The company must deal with these challenges, free speech, and how it evaluates claims in posts. Bureau Report, WION.
All right, now just to get some quick final thoughts with regards to fake news, all the social media platforms are dealing with it. It's not just Twitter, as we saw Facebook also trying to struggle with it. So as we get more information quickly, we're also dealing with what is accurate and what is not. Let's get some final comments, 3 final words as we like to wrap it all up. Let me first start with Kamar Chima. 3 final words to wrap up this discussion about fake news and how people can consume or know what to consume. Kamar.
Well, I think for this, there should be more regulation, and there should be more responsible use of the digital space which the people get. And I think the governments and the civil society need to address and need to talk to the communities and the university students so that they can actually use social media in a more peaceful manner and in a more reasonable manner.
All right. Appreciate your insights. Let's go to Ankit to Teja. Ankit, 3 final words, sort of wrapping this up, summing it all into perspective.
Going by your statement literally, I would say fighting fake news or keep fighting fakeness for that matter. But yeah, Facebook has been doing enough to, clamp down on false reports, fake news. But yes, the kind of users, the amount of people that are there on Facebook, the information, the false information keeps on increasing. So I would just say Facebook has been doing good. It has done enough and it will keep fighting fake news.
All right. And Glenn Carl, last but certainly not least, your thoughts, 3 final words with regards to fake news and what people need to do before they consume news on their social media feeds.
Anarchy, manipulation, and regulation.
All right. We appreciate all your inputs, and thank you so much for your time and your insights on this discussion. And of course, just to make sure everybody at home knows, we as journalists do rely on social media, and we only report news that is verified from credible organizations, government agencies. And of course, one way to check is look for the blue check mark on those social media platforms. Well, that does it for this discussion. I'm Archit Seshadri. Thanks so much for joining us. Good night.